to go it alone. His fourth of the afternoon.
Away goes Anelka. Kept in by Anelka. One shot! A mood of celebration all round the city of Manchester Stadium. Is it a huge weight lifted off Kevin Keegan's shoulders?
In the City goal. Finesse, shot and Riera! Bruyne hit on the volley. Oh, exquisite.
Silva there as well. If he sees the way the left footer can go around the edge of the wall. There it is, Yaya Toure. Oh! Textbook!
Silva for Aguero. Aguero looks up. Tries to go it alone. His fourth of the afternoon.
A very good afternoon from a sunny Manchester. Welcome to Matchday Live. The team have arrived, and so have we, as we welcome Newcastle United to the Etihad Stadium for this 4:30 kickoff in the Premier League. 4 games to go, and as we know, as Pep describes it, 4 finals. There's some good omens for us boys in blue. City have lost just one of their last 28 league games against Newcastle United, that coming in 2019 in a 2-1 loss at St James's Park. And the other good omen is City have scored in at least once in each half in their last 26 Premier League games against Newcastle United, the longest joint run of one team scoring against another in the competition's history. Of course, after that slow start to the season with 2 draws and 2 losses, since then City have only failed to take maximum points from a further 4 of their last 24 games. Hello, my name is Kel Spellman. As always, it's an absolute pleasure to be with you, and it's even more of a pleasure to be sat to these 2 City legends in the form of Steve Howey and Shaun. Go to gents. Welcome along. Before we get to you, let's get straight into team news, because we bring it you here first on Matchday Live. Our starting 11 looks like this. Edison in goal. A back 4 consisting of Gial Gonzalo, Ruben Diaz, Aymeric Laporte. Ollie Zinchenko comes in at left back. Rodri holding. In front of him we have Ilkay Gundogan captaining the side alongside Kevin De Bruyne, and a forward 3, who knows where they'll play, Raheem Sterling, Gabriel Jesus and Jack Grealish. Moving on to the bench, Zach Stefan, Nathan Ake, Bernardo Silva, Fernandinho, Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden, CJ Egan-Riley, Luke Mbete and Cole Palmer. Steve, I'll come straight to you. Of course, I think after the midweek game, there are always going to be changes. What was your first thoughts when you saw that starting 11?
Still a very, very strong team. You know, I think even if you're a Newcastle player and you're looking at that team, you're still thinking, wow, that is a very, very strong starting lineup. Of course, City have to bounce back. It was a bitter pill to swallow on Wednesday. But if they want to win the Premier League, listen, there was a slip up from Liverpool yesterday, but if they want to win the Premier League, they've got to try and dust that off Wednesday and get back to basically what you say is the bread and butter. This will be a difficult game, but I think that starting 11, if they apply themselves properly, I can see Man City winning, but winning comfortably.
Oh, that's what we like to hear, Steve. Starting off on a positive note, Shaun, we like that. I mean, it'd be reminiscent of us not to talk about, of course, what happened in the week, but I wondered more from a player's perspective. I mean, I think as fans, we've all felt a low, and we saw the players absolutely do. How do you pick yourself up from, you know, kind of going through an experience like that and the manner in which it happened, Shaun?
Hey, that's a very good question, because I've only just picked myself up. And normally when you have, you know, defeats like that, you really need the next game to get it out your system. But again, it's a bitter pill to swallow for the boys, because we never really saw that happening. You know, and how the game was panning out, we never saw that, you know, unfolding the way it did. But I think with what's happened yesterday with Liverpool, I think, you know, the day and how it is, we've always known we've got to win all our games. So despite even what happened with Liverpool, it's about winning our games. So I think the boys are looking, think, you know what, we've got to win our games, because we need to be winning this at the end of the season.
Yeah, and Steve, what would there have been? I mean, I think Pep came out and said there wasn't much talking initially on the night afterwards. Then the next day, do you think there would have been conversations between the team to try and refocus them, or do you not think that's needed really?
I think this group of players, you know, they're experienced enough. They know that they have to just switch their minds back. I'm not surprised there wasn't much said after the game, because really, what can you say? Yeah. You know, it's just one of them ones. I think everybody in the dressing room would have been shell-shocked. The fans were, and even the neutral just watching that would be thinking, what have we just seen here? Yeah. So I think sometimes you are better off just leaving it alone. You let players gather their own thoughts, let them sort of let things sink in. But for these players that's starting today, you know, they know they've got a job to do. They know they have to bounce back. As Ghost has said, which is absolutely spot on, they knew that we're going to have to win all the games anyway from now to the end of the season, and this is the first game of that few games they've got left to win. Yeah, fingers crossed it's going to be the home run that we all want. Obviously, let's look at a few of the players that have been brought in then. So, of course, Jesus started, but Sterling and Grealish, who came on off the bench. Grealish actually very threatening when he came on against Madrid. I guess, though, this is a chance for them to kind of, you know, assert themselves back into the starting 11, isn't it, Shaun? Yeah, I mean, there's obviously good pace, there's quality in wide positions. I think Sterling will be looking to get on the score sheet, because he's one that typically tries to score goals. So I would imagine he'll be desperately looking to get on the score sheet. Grealish came on, made a brilliant impact in the game. How that ball was saved off the line is beyond me. But again, he's now starting to fit more and more into City's way of playing and understanding. So I'm really excited to see them. Jesus is somebody, you know, his form. I'm excited to see that he's leading the line, because, again, he makes defenders be honest. Steve, being a central defender, will tell you, someone like him would be difficult to play against, because he's always looking, playing on his shoulder, but is also in great form as well. It's a great stat here on Jesus as well. He's been involved in 76 goals in his 96 Premier League starts, whether that's goals or assists. For a young player, and he's still only, I think, 24, 25, Steve, he actually still feels that, you know, we're only at the start of potentially where he could go, I guess. Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's such a threat going in behind, because he has got that pace. He does know he's one of these, they're good at it. They've just got this instinct of being where to be in the box when the ball comes into the box. Yeah. He puts a shift in as well. You see him tracking back. Yeah. You know, a lot of defence. Well, he didn't track back. I know that. I used to shout. Not the first to say it. No, I ain't coming back. But he does do that. But you just look at the team, and it's a threat all over. Even the two centre halves, you know, they'll be difficult to pick up from set plays as well, because we know Kevin De Bruyne, his delivery is always absolutely spot on. So it's a team. Again, they'll be looking around the dressing room. You know, if you're the manager, you'll sort of say, look who's right here, look who's left here. This is a quality team. You do your job, you'll win today.
Yeah.
But obviously it's a big game because of what happened on Wednesday.
Looking at the defensive end of the pitch, Zinchenko's coming in at left back, but just as a whole, Steve, I was just curious to think, I mean, Laporte has been he's been a constant this whole season. I think he's had a phenomenal season. What have you made of the Diaz and Laporte combination at centre-half?
Very strong.
Yeah.
Very good, very strong. You couldn't really see John Stones kind of featuring there. Yes, he's played sometimes as a full-back, but I like John Stones. I think he's a very, very good player. I really do. But these two are, big, strong, aggressive. They can play as well. I mean, obviously Pep likes players that can play, that's confident on the ball. So, Chris Wood probably is the centre forward who's playing for Newcastle. I don't know the starting lineup at Newcastle just yet. It could be Wilson. We could get a surprise. But there's not many centre forwards that get much change out of them too.
Yeah.
Because if you beat one of them, the other one's there as well just to back them up. So, a very strong parent.
And Gundogan's coming to the side. What do you think the thing is there? Because obviously, usually we've seen the combination of Bernardo. Maybe, I mean, that lad, I mean, he did not deserve to be on the losing team for his performance against Madrid. But Gundogan gives us that ball retention, and that's going to be important coming up against a very informed Newcastle side, really.
Well, exactly. I mean, he's an experienced player. He's Pep's first signing. He's that player that gives us control, but also that running into the box. He's exceptional at it. Has an eye for goal. When he's on the field, I just feel we have control because this is the sort of player he is. He just offers this quality. Be interesting to see if Zinchenko bums up wide or does he go inside. I would imagine he'll probably tuck inside alongside Rodri and give us more solidity there. But Gundo, a quality player, and how he's able to make those runs forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, that's the City team news. We're going to get more into that in just a little bit, but just let me quickly tell you, we've got a WhatsApp number, and that is how you can get in touch with us here on the show. So if you've got a question for maybe Steve or for Shaun about the team, or maybe you've had a burning question for time, you can get connected to us just using that number below, and I'll be putting them to our guests a little bit later on. And while you're on your phone, make sure you've got the City app downloaded, because that is where you can get commentary from Alistair Mann, and Andy Morrison is with Alistair Mann today. We're going to hear their thoughts in just a little bit, but if you download the City app, that's how you can get that full commentary on there. Now, before we take a look at Newcastle's team, let's begin, of course, with the first clue from one of our favourite games. Whose stats? Very, very simple. We ask you to work out who this player is from 3 clues that I bring you throughout the show. All right, gents, here we go. Here's clue number 1 for whose stat. This defender appeared in the PFA Team of the Year 5 times during his career. Defender who appeared in the PFA Team of the Year. That's tough, that. Okay. All right, I see you there, clue 1. We'll get clue 2 in a little bit. It might become a little bit clearer. Should we take a look at the Newcastle team news, gents? We can bring you that starting 11, and you were absolutely spot on, Steve. Chris Wood does start, and you can see it here. We've got Dubravka in net, Kraft, Lascelles, Byrne, and Targett. And you got Longstaff, Mahrez, Joe Linton, Almiron, St. Maximin, and Wood. Moving to their bench, we got Darlow, Dummett, Shaw, Wilson, Ritchie, Trippier, Manquillo, Murphy, and Gale. Were there any surprises there from you, Steve, seeing that starting 11, or was that kind of what you expected?
I think possibly the only one will be Lascelles. I see Shaw's on the bench. He came off injured. Is he 100% fit? Probably he's not. That's why he's on the bench. But not really looking at the team. I mean, if Man City players haven't noticed him, but Bruno Guimaraes, he's a very good player. They'll be able to have a look at him. Very technically gifted. But it's a team where I think Eddie will try and set them up where they'll look to try and frustrate Manchester City. Make sure that they're nice and compact defensively, and asking Manchester City questions. How can you break us down? I think as far as Newcastle fans are concerned, they'll just be looking on the bench, and I think they'll be delighted that Trippier and Wilson are actually on the bench, and hoping to see them in the second half possibly. But it's a decent team from Newcastle. But I have to be honest, if you're looking at it, if you're a Manchester City fan, you'd look at the Newcastle team, and although they've done really well of late, certainly since Eddie Howe's come in, it's a team where those Manchester City players, the starting 11, are looking at it and thinking, I think we can do something here. Yeah. But it's up to the Newcastle players as well to sort of offer that, being difficult to break down. But if Man City get an early goal, the kind of plan from the manager and the players kind of goes out the window, because they need to then advance to try and get a goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And Shaun, where do you see some of the key battles happening on the pitch today?
Well, when I look at the Newcastle team, I think City will look to smother them. So I'm looking mainly at the front players out of possession. So Almiron, Saint-Maximin, Woods, I think them as a three, are they able to be switched on to work? Because I think City, we know how City move the ball, shift it from one side to the other. If they're falling asleep, City would then create overloads, and this is where City would then find little pockets, get balls into players like Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, and we know the quality that they possess in being able to hurt teams. So I think for Newcastle, it's about their front players and how they're able to defend and defend solidly to help the rest of the team.
It's interesting as well, when we were just before we came live, actually, Saint-Maximin was on the pitch on his own for about 10 minutes. I'm not kind of sure what he was doing. I mean, you saying he might have even just been trying to visualise the game a little bit. Is that something that players do? Yeah,
that's something I used to do myself, and players like Steve Howey didn't know that. He came in at kickoff time. He didn't need it. But listen, you find that when you see a player stood out there for ages. Sometimes you have some players that are into it, the visualization, seeing themselves do certain things on the field. For him, as a really good dribbler, he'll probably visualize himself running across players. But first of all, he's got to win the ball.
He's got to have the ball at his feet, doesn't he? I mean, on Saint-Maximin, because, we were just speaking before, Steve, from the clips I've seen of him, he looks like he's a tour de force, but you were kind of saying consistency is somewhere he struggles a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny because listening to the Newcastle fans when we do the radio show back up there, listen, on his day he can be wonderful. He can cause you problems. He's got a trick and he can score a goal. I just think there's, excuse me, too many times he gives the ball away or there's no end product. And I think that's what frustrates the Newcastle fans. But on his day, and on a blink of an eye, he can win you a game.
Yeah.
But he just needs to be more consistent.
Yeah, and it's funny, isn't it? Because I guess, the potential of what a player has, that's what makes it more frustrating, because you know the level that you kind of want them to be at all the time. Does that then come from the coach, or does that have to come from the player, do you think, Shaun?
Well, I think it's a bit of both. I think as a player, but we're talking about Premier League players, we're talking about quality players. I think he should be taking that on, that responsibility on. I'm quite sort of pleased to hear that sort of information, because when I look at him, I think, what a player. I think he's a player that you think, I don't want him to get a one-on-one situation, because he looks as though he can twist and turn and pretty much do any defender. But the way City approach games is not about the individual. We sort of will suffocate a team and move the ball, and that he doesn't have much of the ball. But for him, certainly he would have to take a lot of the discipline side of the game so that he could be effective today.
I wondered, Steve, out of the signings that were made in January, of course, we know about the big new investment, and there was a few players brought in. Who do you think's kind of been, the best and had the most impact on the Newcastle team? From
the signings that were made in January?
Yeah.
Well, you can't get too far away from Burn and Target. They've been absolutely superb. Obviously, Trippier had a really good start, then got injured. Chris Wood, you know he's not going to get you a hatful of goals, but he's actually done a very good job. Gimareras, for me, he didn't start because the team was winning, but he's come in and been a revelation as well. So, Dan Burn and Matt Target, they've been absolutely superb. But there's been an unbelievable transformation as well for Joelinton.
Yeah.
Because he was getting a lot of criticism from the fans. But again, since Eddie Howe's come in, it's changed it, given him some confidence. And confidence has helped him so much in his own performances. He's almost become a cult hero with the Newcastle fans. But if I had to pick two main players, I've got to say Dan Burn and Matt Target. They've been exceptional.
Yeah.
But as I said and I mentioned before, Gimareras, he is a special talent.
I'll just piggyback on that. Talking about Burn, I saw him a little bit at Bristol City, watching a little bit of his games at Bristol City, and he's obviously, moved himself here. He seems to understand what Newcastle fans want, because he plays with this sort of passion, and I guess as a fan of Newcastle, he's understood, stood in the terraces, what the fans look for, and I've always been impressed with his sort of his passion for the game when he plays. It really means something when he plays it, but he also performs well. So interesting to see how he gets on, because he's coming up against world-class players.
It's interesting on Joel Linton as well. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know he was kind of an out-and-out striker, but I know he's kind of almost can drop in a little bit now, and actually because of, you know, physically how strong he is and quick, he actually seems to suit his game a little bit more as well, I guess, which has helped with the form.
Well, yeah, I mean, when he was at Hoffenheim, he always played on the left-hand side and kind of came in. But when he came to Newcastle, initially they played him up front.
Yeah.
He had the added pressure of having the number 9 on his back as well.
Yes.
So, of course, everybody was like, 40 million, we're looking for somebody half-decent and a Brazilian. And it just didn't work.
Yeah.
Eddie Howe's just dropped him that little bit deeper. Physically, he looks a lot stronger. And just so much confidence, excuse me, on the ball now. Different player.
Absolutely, he's a great, and that Mahrez as well. I think we're only really scratching the surface, Shaun, of what he can do. If when they do have the ball, and Almiron we know has got pace, City defensively, what is the way that they'll have to kind of stop them three from doing the thing?
Well, it's interesting because Saint Maximin is sort of an individual player, plays a bit off the cuff. They don't really have real patterns and how they attack. So I think it's more or less get the ball to him, and he's able to eliminate one player, and then that makes a defense struggle because a second player has to come over and cover, and that creates the overload. And if he becomes more of a team player after beating a player, he's then able to find perhaps their spare player. But Almiron, you know, I think with all of them, they lack goals. That's the one thing they lack, you know. I think the top goal scorer is 5 or 6 goals. I think it may be Wilson. Wilson's been injured for a while.
Yeah.
I think he may be just getting himself back into things, but they just lack goals.
Yeah.
And they'll work hard, and I think for them, it's out of possession. That's going to be really important.
Well, it's shown as well, something Steve said there about the number on the back. You know, I don't know if either of you ever kind of felt that as a player. You know, because I mean, I think Grealish has been fantastic, but as people speak about as well, he got given that number 10.
Yeah.
It does create an expectation, and can players it kind of have a reverse effect on them in a way.
Yeah, it does. It does have. Newcastle, the number 9, because Sherry is talking about the Premier League's top goal scorer.
Yeah.
Period. It is a pressure. So those players will know. And I think the wise thing is to not go and try to match the numbers of Sherry. Just to think, listen, if I can get myself near 20 goals one season, great. Can I then bypass 20? Can I get 22? Shearer was 25, 30 goals, consistent. It was just direct debit with Alan Shearer.
Yeah.
So I think it comes the pressure with Newcastle expecting that, but these are different players. Almiron's an agile player, can take a player on, lacks the, I don't know if it's the belief, the finishing. Woods is that more target player that will link players. Should score more goals, you would think. But again, he's still betting in at Newcastle, so we'll get to see a little bit more of him next season. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, the team, I think, will be on the way out very, very soon, because I can see by the pitch. But I tell you, we have got pitch side. It's your commentary team for today at Manchester City. The legend that is, of course, Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison. You can catch them on the Manchester City app, and we can now hear their thoughts of our starting 11 pitch side.
Well, welcome to pitchside. The atmosphere beginning to build. We're about an hour from kickoff, of course, but I think everyone here who's arriving at the ground and making their way to the seats are still talking about Wednesday. Andy Morrison, former City captain, of course. So many reflections on Wednesday night. 60 seconds that changed the whole Champions League campaign. What are your thoughts now, a few days after digesting it all?
It's taken a few days to, for it to actually digest it, and we've had to suffer because we're City fans and we wanted a trip. We wanted to go to Paris, and we thought we were there, and it's that old adage. You actually, as soon as you think you've done something, it seems to be taken away in such a painful way as it was for everybody. It was a tough one, really, really tough to take, and we're all experts after the event. We should have done this, we should have done that. But the players, and they were magnificent on the night. Every single detail was right, over 2 legs. But as you said, it was just this crazy 60 seconds where we didn't manage it correctly at that point, and we were punished incredibly harshly. Sometimes you don't. For me, the second goal, to actually have a flicked header, that normally is the end of the attack, but he flicked it onto his own player. So and it was just like, wow, one of them moments, and and we all suffered, and but we're back now.
How painful is it for players to get over something like that with such an important game 4 or 5 days later?
Well, I think they have to, and I think it's a massive bonus, that we have a game so quick to put it to bed, and we look at, what the outcome can be over the next, 3 to 4 games. To win the Premier League is an incredible achievement, and it's done over 38 games. Cup competitions, anything can happen. You need an element of good fortune, and you don't get second chances. The league is what you're judged on, and yes, of course, we all ultimately want to win that Champions League because it's a reflection of where this club is at. But to win the Premier League and for it to be, be 4 titles in 5 years is phenomenal, and we've got to be positive.
And of course, how will the players be feeling about Liverpool's drop points last night? I don't think anybody says anything. You daren't say anything. Nothing's changed. We need to win all our games. It's as simple as that. And Pep said that with 8 games to go, we need to win every game to win this title. And not worry about what Liverpool done. Of course, we watched it, and of course, them 2 points drop changes the dynamic slightly. But we still need to win every game. And going into this game today, that'll be the only thought on the players. I want to put that to bed as well very quickly, what happened midweek. You've had a few moments to digest the team. What do you make of the lineup today?
Yeah, strong, really strong. I like it. I like the balance all over. There's no surprises. I think we have our elite sort of 20, and then we have youngsters. And any one of that 20, when they're in the team, you go, that's a strong outfit. I believe we'll start fast. I believe there'll be a fantastic energy here today because, you look at the starting 11 and it's world class in every department.
Well, Andy Morrison will be alongside me for the commentary. Download the app and listen to us describe what will hopefully be a City win to forget everything about Wednesday night. Back to you.
Alistair, thank you so much. That's indeed what we're hoping for. And as I say, if you want to hear Alistair and Andy, the Manchester City app is the place to do just that. Andy Morrison picked on something we were talking about there before, the quick start. And if we can get that early goal, as you say, Stephen, the last few games, actually, it's kind of been something of a speciality. That, I guess, can actually just change the whole makeup of the fixture, can't it, if that does happen today?
Yeah, it does, but I think the manager, Eddie Howe, will just think, listen, even if they get an early goal, kind of stick to the game plan. But after 15, 20 minutes, if it's 2-3, then it has gone out the window. So I think Newcastle have just got to be disciplined, but this is where Man City, and this is why, because Man City have got very, very good players. We all know how many times you see Man City and they're just playing it across, and then they'll just look for that ball through. So it's so important that the Newcastle defenders are switched on.
Yeah. And
you can be switched on, but can he be switched on for 90-plus minutes against Manchester City's quality? That's a tough ask.
It's a tough ask of anyone, isn't it, Shaun? And it's funny because sometimes, and you'll know more about this than me, when we do the moving the ball side to side, you kind of just think it's feeling a bit redundant, like, what are we doing? But it is all calculated and thought out. It has a purpose, that. So then try and, I guess, well, what is the purpose?
Well, yeah, from City's point of view, it's a case of, they say pass the ball to move the opposition. Before you always hear people say, well, you just pass a move, but City pass the ball to move the opposition. So when the ball moves from right to left, it's essentially to create the time and space for a centre half to step forward. So depending on how they press, if they press with 2 or press with 1, is moving and shifting the ball so that the centre back can step forward. Once the centre back steps forward, it becomes a numbers game. They're numbers short, so it's finding that free player.
Yeah.
I go into it a lot, but a lot of it is like in-house stuff.
Oh, he's coaching now. Oh, it's too big for the show. It is. And I wanted to ask you as well, Steve. We just see him there. He's starting. Jack Grealish. What have you made of his season so far at City? So it's talked about a lot, and I think pretty unfairly for me, but I wondered what your opinion was on his season at City.
Well, I think he's a top player. I really do. It's not him that sets that price tag.
Yep.
It's what Aston Villa were asking and what a club's prepared to pay. Some players take a little to settle in, and I think it's kind of just, at Aston Villa he was the top man. Everything went through him. It's not the same here.
Yeah.
Because they're all top players, and that's not being disrespectful to Aston Villa. It's just the way that it is. So sometimes they might go through Jack, sometimes they might not. You look at him when he was at Aston Villa, he would hold on to the ball a lot more to draw those fouls. He still gets fouls for City, but he tends to get it, give it, because that's the way Pep wants them to play. And you play the way the manager tells you to play, otherwise you're not on the team.
Yeah.
Yes, now and again, do your individual flair, show that. But it hasn't. I think if he looked at his season, he'd be thinking, personally, could he have done better in his performances? I think if he was being harsh, he would probably say yes. But there's no doubt that lad's got talent. And I think for the coming season for Manchester City, for the Man City fans, you've got a special player that'll just grow and grow and grow and become an even better player than what he actually is now.
Yeah, sure.
Steve's absolutely right. I mean, Grealish is a player that he was the main guy, and it was almost, we played to get it to Grealish. And coming to City, he would have looked around that dressing room and looked right and left and went, world class. And also, City's able to play and keep the ball if a player's down injured and still keep the ball. So he would know that. He'll look around and think, well, my standards were good at Aston Villa, but I've now got to come up another level.
Yeah.
He would have seen it in training. And as Steve said, it just takes a little bit longer for some players. I think it's now starting to come a little bit more into what we're anticipating from him, expected of him.
Yeah.
And again, I think he'll just kick on even more next season as well.
I think if you look at any of Pep's signings as well, most of the time they've all needed that first season to get up to speed with the system.
Yeah, and the other thing is the price tag. We could all sit and sort of ignore it, and he's human. He knows that's a big price tag, and as much as the price tag, as players you say, well, the price tag, I have nothing to do with that, I'm just playing, he'll know that that's a lot of money and that he wants to perform. So I think he's now just sort of not realizing it, but he's now starting to perform a bit more to his level. I anticipate him having another superb game, and again, adding another game to his belt of performing well.
Yeah. I think as well, and again, I'm not being disrespectful to Aston Villa, he knows his whole attitude has to change on the field and off the field, particularly off the field, because now he's mixing with the big boys. Now he's training with the big boys. Even the training sessions, I'd imagine some days, could be wrong, but I would imagine some days he would have gone into training at Aston Villa and he's just easy-ozy. You cannot get away with it with this lot. Certainly not the manager, and the players won't let you get away with that either. So your standards got to be there. So even though he's come in here, he's obviously realised every day I've got to be there. Because if not, they'll tell him. So will the manager. And it's not just that, it's off the field. How he looks after himself would have changed. He maybe can't go out as much as what he did. Not that I'm saying that he did go out a lot of socialising, but that gets knocked on the head. There's the right time and the right time to do it, the right place to do it. But I know he's a professional footballer, but when you get to this level, with this manager, with these players, it's a different level altogether.
Yeah, I mean, Shaun, and and we see it. They have got in every department, right through to diet, to the stretching, and everything is kind of all thought out, isn't it? And it's how you actually perform this level 3 days a week.
Every department is looked at, and it's at the highest level. From, as Steve says, on and off the field. And I think this is, again, young lads want to enjoy themselves. I think this is where he'd have taken a huge jump off the field, because he'd look around and think, well, how is it that Kevin De Bruyne is played so well, so consistently? Everybody was talking about him when he was at Aston Villa. He could see now and go, oh, Kevin De Bruyne is just easy in terms of off the field. He's a family man and he quietly goes about his business. He's not doing other stuff to attract attention. He would see that stuff and he'll look at himself and go, okay, I can still enjoy myself, but I'm no longer sort of at this level. I'm messing with the big boys, world-class players.
Just had some good news as well, actually. I don't know if we were able to show it. Kyle Walker is down in the tunnel. He's got no protective boot on. There is a slight limp, but he seems to be kind of on 2 feet and looking all right. So hopefully we might see him before the end of the season. And God love him, he tried so hard on Wednesday to play on, didn't he? Love that man. All right, clue number 2 for Who's Stats. This is where we give you 3 clues. Can you work out who it is? You can either tweet us, use #ManCity, or WhatsApp us. This was clue number 1. This defender appeared in the PFA Team of the Year 5 times during his career. Clue number 2, this player scored 99 career goals as a defender. 99 career goals. I'm trying to think who that could be. All right, we're pretty stumped here on Matchday Live. Shaun, Steve?
They got as many goals as me.
All right, clue number 3 might help us. Now, you might have seen, if you're an avid FIFA player, they announced their FIFA Team of the Year, and of course, true to form, we had some Manchester City players in it, and we can have a little look at them here. Kevin De Bruyne, Gial Gonzalo, Ruben Diaz, Bernardo Silva and Rodri were in that team of the season, and we can now hear from our FIFA player, Shells, on his thoughts and the reasoning why those guys have made it into that team of the season.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Shells here, and the new FIFA 22 Premier League team of the season is out right now. Let's go have a look at what Manchester City players made it into the team. Starting off with the first player in the team this season, our captain, Ruben Diaz. I mean, a fantastic season he's had, making also a Team of the Year appearance and now a Team of the Season. A solid centre-back, and that just shows on the pitch is what he does. He does that in the game as well. The next man we have in the Team of the Season is our man, Gial Gonzalo, with a 95 card, which is even better than his Team of the Year. Just shows how incredible he's been this season. I mean, if you look at the card itself, 96 pace, 4-star, 5-star, you can play him anywhere. Me, I'll probably play him in centre mid if I could, but definitely one of the best players in the game for sure. The next man we have in our team is the guy, Rodri, the anchor of our team. You know, 6'3", 82 pace, long legs. He's running around the place, keeping the ball, winning it back for us. You know, you can't go wrong with having Rodri in the midfield. Moving on, we got our Portuguese magician, Bernardo Silva. I mean, with the rise of narrow formations in FIFA right now, I think he's the best, probably right centre mid in the game. That one centre mid that you need to go forward, make something happen. He's got 99 agility, balance, and dribbling. I mean, this guy's a playmaker in the midfield. Last but not least, we got the main man, Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, compared to his Team of the Year card, it's actually more an offensive version. But there's not much to say. This guy's fantastic on the pitch and in the game as well. And I don't need to talk too much. It's just Kevin. And that was our 5 players that made it into the Premier League Team of the Season. If you want to get your hands on these players, make sure you play FIFA 22 now.
Massive thank you to Shells, and of course massive congratulations to our boys in blue that have made it into that FIFA Team of the Season. It's going to sound so silly. The boys are training out there, and watching Bernardo and Phil Foden here, they're only just pinging the ball to each other, but like, I've tried to do that with my brother, and it's so hard, but they just make it look so easy.
Well, yeah, you come to the wrong person because it is hard. That's why I stuck to try to score goals. Eh? 40 yards, keeping the ball up, volleying it to each other.
Now, gents, we're going to dig into the vault for a classic match that you were both involved in. Now, I want to cast your mind back. It was to the 2000-2001 season. The boys, we were struggling. We hadn't won in 10 games. We go to St James's Park against Newcastle. Alan Shearer playing, and we win 1-0. Steve, do you remember the game?
I do, yes. I mean, I think for me personally, going back there, you always want to prove a point. And it's always nice to go back when you actually do go back and win.
I recall, if I'm right, you may have had a bloody nose that day because you and Shearer were at it. Him and Alan Shearer were at it. And I was like, I'm not getting involved. Steve's my teammate, but this is for the big boys. Yeah, it was a good battle.
I was playing with a broken toe. Right. And I was getting injected all the time. And he'd found out about it, Shearer. Well, you see him on Match of the Day and stuff like that, and he does a really professional analysis. He's actually thick as mince, to be quite honest. So it was on my left foot where the broken toe was, and Newcastle had a throw, and he's backing into me. But as he's backing into me, you can see him trying to work out which is my right and left foot. So he's looking basically to sort of stamp on my toe.
No.
And he tried it, and so of course I've hit him across the head and basically just sort of said, listen, if you want one of them days, then that's fine. And he tried it again. So then there was a ball, and it was a kick out by Shea Given, who was playing for Newcastle, and I caught Alan Shea with a butte, and I broke his nose. So
that's what it was.
And then that's when I sort of said to them, this is what you get if you mix with the big boys.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, Alan Shearer was one of the big boys.
That is cracking that as well. I mean, we've seen it. There was just some colossal challenges from you, Stevie, on this game as well. It was a big game, and then, I mean, we're going to take a little goal in the set. But I'm just picking up what you said before, Steve. When you do go back to a former club, what is it? Is it quite emotional? Like, I don't know, what are the feelings for players, especially if you have a strong connection as well to the team as well?
It is, yeah. I mean, really, I only played for 2 clubs in my career, which was Newcastle and Man City. Yes, I did have a spell at Leicester, but it didn't last long. I was only there 6 months, and I had a very short spell at Bolton as well. But even when I came back here, when I was at Leicester, you want to kind of prove the supporters wrong. Yeah. And I think actually me and Paul Digoff played in that game. I think we won quite comfortably on the day. But all players will tell you, when you go back to your old club, you want to show them you have either getting better or you certainly want your team to win. And of course, on that day, we held out defensively, nice and strong. And obviously that's why he gets the nickname the GOAT, because he always come up with the goods.
Yeah, you know what they say, you feed the GOAT and he will score, baby.
Well, yeah, so listen, going Newcastle, there you go.
Oh, hello.
In the corner, kids, if you're watching. That's how you do it. That's the City fans are up in the clouds.
Yeah, they are. They're high up in St. James's Park.
Yeah, that was typically me finding a little space like that. But for City's point of view, we started getting big players. Steve Howey had come to the club, because Steve Howey was a big signing for us. Had been at a big club, so he was one that sort of I would observe and see how he carried on. You went, okay, this is how the big boys do it. But I got Shearer's shirt at the end as well.
Was that Shea giving in goal?
I think he's shaking. Yeah.
I think he's working today as well. We should, if one of the reporters is doing him, should ask him. His nickname's Crichton. Have you ever watched Red Dwarf?
Yeah.
And then that alien thing with his head. That's why we used to call him Crichton. So if you do an interview with him, so Steve always says, hello, Crichton. Okay. We used to call him something else, but it's unrepeatable. But it's just a great finish by the GOAT. Past what I class as one of the best goalkeepers I ever played with, Shea Given.
Really, wow.
Brilliant goalkeeper.
High praise indeed. We've actually got a question on WhatsApp that's come in, actually. I mean, this is a great one for Steve. He says, does Steve think primetime Shearer would have fitted into this City side? Would primetime Shearer have fitted into this City team?
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
think about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
He will, because he scores goals. I mean, he's an absolute machine. I know there's been a lot of talk this season with Man City not having a main striker and stuff like that, and what they possibly might be getting in the summer. But I get on with Al, really, and we wind each other up more than anything. But who was the toughest striker? Who was the best striker? You look at Premier League, I don't know, you've got Aguero here and stuff like that, but Alan Shearer was top draw.
Yeah, and the goals say it as well, don't they, Shaun?
Yeah, he could mix it. I mean, I used to, Shearer didn't know this, but I used to always have these little competitions, and that was, could I sort of score as often as he did? Because week in, week out, Shearer was producing. Yeah. And again, if it came to getting a tussle, he can do that. If it came to playing football, he could do that. He scored goals outside the box, inside the box, volleys, headers, sliding in, every type of goal. I just admired him so much, because it wasn't easy, you just see him every week just popping out with goals. And so it was really good to see him, him and Shearer mixing it. And I thought, I see blood here. It's a bit more serious. I'll go back up front.
Yeah. I think this is quite an interesting question from Oliver again on WhatsApp as well. So could you either of you explain how the two best teams in the world, he says City and Liverpool, can be going for all the titles but might not end up with the one that they want most? Because I think Liverpool fans talk about winning the Premier League. Some City fans, not all. I think I think the league is the hardest league, type trophy to them. But the elusive Champions League. What impacts this? Do you think because they are? I don't know. Are they both thinking about it that much, or is it just how that's football, Steve?
Well, it is. That's football. I think. I know one thing for sure. All the Liverpool players would have been delighted with what happened on Wednesday, because I think if they had a choice between Real or Man City, they'll pick Real every day of the week and twice on Tuesday, because they know for a fact it's going to be an easier game than it would be against Man City. But listen, I think when you're at the top of your game and you're playing and you've got two top teams, it just seems to work out where you could win it all, or you could win nothing.
Yeah.
Or you might have to share it.
Yeah.
And I agree. It's the competitions that both teams would want to win. Liverpool, Premier League, City, the Champions League. But it is what it is. So Man City have got to go for the Premier League now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I stand by it and I say it and I agree with Pep. The hardest trophy to win is the English Premier League, and if you do that, you are the best team in England, fact. So fingers crossed it'll be City come the end of the season. Right, as you know, we have been building up to a very special documentary that is going to be out next week, because as we know, it has been a decade since that infamous Aguero goal right here at the Etihad, that 93-20 goal, and we've been teasing you with clips each week, and we've got a belter for you today. This one comes from that infamous Vincent Kompany moment at Old Trafford. Do you remember it? Of course you do.
The fact that it was a derby then just multiplied everything that was already important about this game. Also, Sir Alex Ferguson before saying that, you know, never in his lifetime City would win the league. So I think the blue side felt like, look, this is the chance, this is the moment.
Killed in by David Silva and turned in by Vincent Kompany. Manchester City ahead, right on half-time. Cometh the hour, cometh the captain.
That goal is probably as important, if not the most important, of the season.
Was a very important player, very important man in the dressing room, and also he scored an important goal against United.
City seconds away. Roberto Mancini seconds away.
The noisy neighbours have ousted the sitting tenants. Manchester City's night in the derby, and maybe in the Barclays Premier League.
We knew it, winning that game is what we are going to achieve, and probably with that game we won the title.
Balotelli, Aguero! I swear you'll never see anything like this ever again.
Now, a few of the eagle-eyed viewers will have seen they were wearing a very different top when the lads came out to warm up. They're wearing it now, and this is because Puma have specially designed this limited edition Aguero top to mark that iconic goal. And I've got to say, I mean, gents, I think I wear it pretty well, but it's a thing of beauty. You've got here the actual goal in images running along in a hoop style, and on the back it goes all the way around, all the way to the bottom, if you can. Stunning. So there is limited numbers of these shirts. I'm hopefully going to be doing my best to sneak this one in my bag at the end of the show. Don't tell the producers. But we are giving you the chance to win one of the limited numbers. And not just that, one that gets signed by those players down there on the pitch. Very, very simple. All you have to do is go to Citizens. And if you sign up to enter the competition, one of you will be a lucky winner of the shirt signed by the man himself. So that is well worth doing. Right, moving on from that. Let's hear from a man we were just talking about. Of course, a man who played for both Manchester City and Newcastle. Shay Given is giving us his thoughts down at pitch side for this game against Newcastle United, which will be kicking off very, very soon, 4:30 here at the Etihad.
Well, welcome to Pitchside, where I'm joined by a man who has a foot in both camps, although he spent a lot longer with Newcastle, to be fair. What are your feelings about the time you spent at the Etihad? A lot less than at St James's Park, but still affection?
Yeah, definitely. Both clubs. It's a difficult one for me today, Alistair, who you want to win. People asked me that yesterday and stuff, and it's I'd have to say Man City, if I'm being honest, because, you know, we want them to win the title, of course, but taking nothing away from Newcastle in the time I was there, nearly 12 years. Fantastic club, and I suppose the start of a journey for them as well, you know, similarly when Sheikh Mansour came to this football club, and, you know, they've got new owners in now, and you know, you'd like to think that they, in a few years' time, can be coming here maybe and challenging for the Premier League title as well.
You know what that city is like. They are so excited about what might be in the future.
Yeah.
Do you feel that they could be the next Manchester City in waiting?
Well, I think so. I think that's the sort of plans and ambitions of the new owners. You know, one happened overnight, similar to here. That, you know, it took some years, and I was part of that at the very start. It took some years to put the building blocks in place for this brilliant team and manager we have now. We see here today. So they know it won't happen overnight, but it would be nice for another team to be up there challenging. Obviously, we like the Liverpool and Chelsea, and I suppose our neighbours across the city and Man United as well. But, you know, Newcastle will be trying to put their noses in the mix as well, and I think the more teams, the better.
How much better are they now than they were before the January transfer window?
Yeah, they're a lot stronger. I think they really successful signings in January. I think it was clever, the ones they brought in as well. You know, mostly knew the Premier League, apart from Bruyne, who has been a brilliant signing as well. But the rest of them were seasoned Premier League players, knew the league inside out, and there was no risk towards them. So I think they strengthened the squad a lot in January, and I think that's given them a huge lift, obviously, and the results have backed that up as well.
I don't know if you've had a chance to digest the Newcastle lineup, but does it seem like it's a bold one to you?
Well, I was at the game last week, actually, Newcastle-Liverpool game, and it's in the lineup. Wilson and Trippier on the bench today, so I imagine they'll keep them up his sleeve the second half. But with St. Maximin, obviously Joe Linton will probably play off the left. I think they've got exciting players and going forward positions, you know. But I would imagine they'll try and come here and be quite solid and again try and hit Man City on the counter-attack, and you have to be aware of that City, of course.
I was going to say, what problems does City have to look out for today?
Well, St. Maximin is a box of tricks. You know, he's a flair player. He can be frustrating at times, Alistair, but on his game and on his day, it's very difficult to defend against, you know. So giving him an opportunity, giving him a chance, of course. And Joe Linton has proven as well to the Newcastle fans what a good signing he's been. He's changed he's turned his career around at Newcastle. So you know, they'll cause problems, and again, set plays will be an issue with likes of Dan Burn and Lascelles coming up. They're very strong in the air as well. So I'm sure Pep will have them well prepped for it.
Let's end with a Manchester City thought, a huge blow in that 60 seconds at the end at the Bernabeu.
Yeah.
How do players react to something like that?
Yeah, I mean, just frustrating even watching it as a fan, take away the sort of TV work or whatever. It was hard to watch, it was difficult and frustrating. And, I was here at the Etihad when in the first leg, they were absolutely brilliant. They should have went to Madrid with a couple more goals, I felt. And just to turn around in a couple of minutes and they're out of the Champions League, it was just really frustrating. So for Pep and his staff today, it'll be psychological scars as much as anything. Forget about that. And of course, Liverpool slipping up last night, dropping 2 points. I think that'll give them another psychological boost as well going into today's game. So their emotions will be all over the shop, probably the players, but it's important that they stay focused on the game today.
Do you have a gut feeling that 2 points drop might be significant?
I think they do. People asked me about 3 or 4 weeks ago, there's 6 or 7 games to go. Well, both teams won all games. I just felt there was going to be a blip. I felt one of the teams would drop points. That's proven to be Liverpool, but Man City will think as well. It can easily happen to ourselves as well. So there's a tough few games still to come, including the game today. So they have to be on their guard, definitely.
Well, I know there's a lot of affection for you for your period at this club. Thank you for joining us
Thanks,
today.
Alistair, thank you.
The thoughts of Shay Given. It's going to be a fascinating watch this afternoon. Back to you, Kel.
Oh, I was thinking, he said there's a camera, so hello, there we are, okay, I see you. And look at us, we're up there in the corner of the stadium, the stadium's filling up nicely, and I think, if there's ever been a more important game to get the fans behind the team, I think today is the day, and hopefully, I'm sure we will be in fine voice. We're coming up against a brand new Newcastle United, it seems, from the place they were in before Eddie Howe took over. And Steve, I just wondered, how do you think, or what has Eddie done to really turn things around for Newcastle? Because it's a great resurgence.
I think his man management's been absolutely first class. He's getting the players together, whether he's speaking to them individually and as a team to get their confidence up. And he's just brought the players together because the whole club looked fractured, from the owner all the way through. Just even facilities-wise, not great. But obviously getting new owners in and then the new manager, his new thoughts, the new thought process with his staff and stuff like that. And it's amazing what an arm around his shoulder that certain players can do for them. Some players need a kick up the backside, but some just do not react to that in any way. They don't like that. They do need the kind of, come on, I can do this, and together we can do this. And it's completely changed the team. Yes, they did have some money to spend in January, but let's be honest, they lost Trippier after just a couple of games. Guimaraes didn't really play the first 4 or 5 games. So really it's been down to the 2 centre-halves, Matt Targett and Dan Burn. And of course Chris Wood. With the team is also losing Wilson, who's your main goal scorer. Yeah. It has been difficult, but the run they went on has been ridiculous. So you can imagine all the teams at the bottom of the league. They would never have thought in a million years Newcastle would have went on this run. No. But this has been down to the players. You've got to give them credit. But Eddie Howe and his staff take massive credit for that.
Well, he's absolutely right. The arm around his shoulder, I was one of those players, so appreciated the arm around his shoulder. And you can see this is what he's doing. But he's just made some little subtle changes. I mean, Joe Linton going into midfield. No one really saw that. For me, as an outsider of Newcastle, I thought, he's not producing goals, but I never thought he could be somebody that could go in midfield, be a bit steely, be a bit tough, battle in there. and he's also Brazilian, has that quality, and you see it in games. So I think he's going solid right down the middle. Again, the arm around shoulders of player saying, listen, you do for me, I'm having you all day. Player loves that little whisper in the air because you go through the wall for him, you know. He was a bit tougher than me. He would take a rollicking from his manager. I needed a little arm around his shoulder.
Yeah.
And this is the modern day manager. They put the arm around his shoulder because players have the influence and the power today. So they know they need the players, and it's working. So good luck to him. Apart from today.
Yeah, apart from today. And I've got to say, I love Eddie Howe. I was so sad with kind of how it ended for him at Bournemouth. I'm so glad that he's kind of had this other moment to really shine and show what he's about. I think he's a great English manager. So all the credit, as Steve said there, to Eddie Howe indeed. But as we say today, we're hoping he'll be on the losing side, only today though. We're nearly done, gents. So before we get final thoughts, let's get the final clue on whose stats. 3 clues. Can you tell us who this player is? Clue number 1, this defender appeared in the PFA Team of the Year 5 times during his career. Clue number 2, this player has scored 99 career goals. Clue number 3, he was a teammate of today's guest when City sealed promotion to the Premier League in 2001-02 season. And Steve's got a smile on his face. We won't give it away. Do you think you've got it, Steve?
I think we had a discussion. I think we've got it.
Okay, Shaun?
Oh, we got it, baby. We got it.
Well, listen, we'll reveal who that is at half-time. But if you want to get some guesses in as well, but there's a wry grin over there on my guest faces, so I think we've got it right. 3 minutes until I'll be handing over to Alistair Mann and Andy Morris, who'll have commentary on the City app. So, gents, my final question for you is, final thoughts, City coming out today, Steve, they need a reaction. How can you see it playing out, and what's your prediction?
Well, first of all, I think Man City have got to come out kind of hitting the ground running. I think the manager will be getting into them and sort of saying, the fans will be disappointed with what's happened on Wednesday. Give them something to get behind very early. Get at Newcastle. So if they can do that, it might take them a while to break Newcastle down. As long as they get the W on the board, that's all that matters, really.
Yes.
I think Man City will win. Could it be a comfortable one? It could, if they start very, very brightly and get an early goal. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win for Manchester City.
Nice, okay, 3-1 from Stephen. Shaun, your final thoughts and prediction as well?
My thoughts are, you hear it in the background, I think the fans are key to us starting well. I know the players will come out and do what they normally do, but again, I think it's important that we show belief as fans, and I think it's going to give us a bright start. In terms of prediction, I'm not sitting on no fence. I'm getting 4-0, baby. 4-0. You heard it here first.
Come on, I love that quietly confident here as well. Well, that's what we're hoping for. We hope it doesn't come to it, but we know that goal difference as well. No one spoke about how Manchester City have closed that goal difference gap over the last few weeks as well, which could be very crucial come the end of the season. So the lads are in the tunnel. And just a final word, Shaun, as well. Sterling coming back into the starting 11, Grealish starting. Obviously, we know what Gundo can do, but I guess this is a chance for them type of players who we know have been a bit in and out to really actually step up and go, lads, I can show you what I'm about.
Yes, without shadow of a doubt. I think Sterling, again, will be looking to get in the score sheet. Will be looking to perform well. Grealish will look to carry on from when he came on and impacted the game. Jesus, just continue what he's doing. He's scoring in good form. I anticipate them guys really just setting the line.
Absolutely. Well, listen, gents, it's been an absolute pleasure. Now, don't forget, we will be back at half-time. Myself, Shaun Goetz, with Steve Howey, and hopefully you can come join us. Please as well do join us at full-time, and fingers crossed, we're going to be talking about another 3 points on the board, which, as we know, with only 4 games to go, that'll put us 3 points ahead of Liverpool in second place after their draw yesterday to Tottenham, which I'm sure made Wednesday's result that little bit easier. What a game he had as well, Rodri, by the way. So the stadium is filling up. The boys are in the tunnel. My voice is nearly gone. I know Shaun and Steve won't be able to hear me anymore, so without further ado, I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. Come back at half-time. Over to Alistair Mann with commentary. Thank you for watching. Come on, City!
Well, thank you, Kel. I hope my voice lasts for the duration of this match. It just about got over the events of Wednesday. I have to say that if there was any lingering doubts about what the City fans were hoping for today, the optimism, the expectation levels, the just general atmosphere around the place. There is a real feeling of positivity towards the City players, that they will put the memory of Wednesday firmly behind them and put on a display